Good afternoon, everyone. How you guys all doing today? I am now finally reviewing a 2022 Mazda MX-5 Miata. I cannot wait to show you guys this car. I have been dying to drive one of these things for a long time, even though I'm a 6-foot person and someone this big should not fit in this car. I fit, so I don't care. I'm gonna review it. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get started. And real quick, I just wanted to give a big shout out to North Miami and Mazda for reminding me of the vehicle I was able to show you guys today. These guys have a wide variety of vehicles ranging from the Mazda 3 hatchback all the way to the Mazda CX-9 SUV. Also, they also have a couple of Miatas in the inventory as well. So if you guys are looking for a toy to just have in the weekends, the Miata is always there. And Mazda is always going to be able to provide that for you. So if you guys are interested in any vehicles from Mazda, check out Mazda of North Miami. They have some good deals going on, especially in the holiday season. So I highly recommend you guys check them out. So just a quick recap on the Miata. Let's just talk about mainly what is the competition between this car, because this car has a very limited competition with it. The only car that can really compete with this thing that's very equally matched price-wise and performance-wise is the Toyota 86 and the Subaru BRZ. Those are really the only two cars that really can compete with this thing, and they're both the same exact platform. They're the same exact car pretty much. Just if you want a Subaru, go get a Subaru with a badge, or if you want a Toyota, you can get the Toyota. But the Miata is just still a very unique car in its own class. It's still the only convertible in this price range that is very affordable and very fun to drive. It's not that powerful of a car, but it's not meant to be a powerful car at all whatsoever. So let's get started with the specs. Starting off, let's just talk about what this car is exactly. This is the Miata RF GT. So this is the fully loaded one. It has the RF top as well, so it's a hardtop model. And this is the luxury version of the Miata. So you have a couple things with the Miata. You have the Sport trim, which is the base model of the car. You have the Club Edition, which basically is a more performance, like track-oriented version. I guess you could say it's like a more of a fun toy type of car. And if you get the Club package, you also get nice BBS wheels. This one's not the Club, so you're gonna just have the nice premium wheels on it, and you also have nice Brembo brakes as well as suspension as well. This GT model is not really tuned for the track and stuff. It's still a really fun car to drive, but it's not really meant for the track more oriented. This is more so like the GT type model for the car. That doesn't mean that the GT is still not fun to drive. This still has the same engine as the Club as well as the Sport. It has the 181 horsepower 2-liter 4-cylinder engine that also has about 170 pound-feet of torque. This is more the updated engine for the Miata as well. With the ND1 Miata that came out, that one had about like 160 to 170 horsepower, and the engine rev all the way up to like 6,800 RPM. Maybe you could get like 7,000 RPM, but that's like hitting the rev limiter like really hard. So it wasn't really that much powerful, and it had a more boring engine. It was more of an economy tuned engine. With this ND2 Miata right behind me, that's the second version. It's more of a refresh model. Looks exactly the same, but the engine isn't the same at all. That came out in 2019 or halfway into 2018, but it was more, you find it more so in the 2019s and out models. With that, you have the 181 horsepower engine, which pumped out, I think like it was 15 to 20 more horsepower. And it revs all the way up to 7,500 RPM now. So it's a much more higher revving engine. So you get to play with the revs a lot more. And as well, it has a little bit more power. So 0 to 60 in this thing, it's not that slow. The Miatas used to be slow. First NA Miatas were like 0 to 60 in like 9-10 seconds. This one goes 0 to 60 in about 5.7 seconds. So it's a lot quicker than before. It's still not the fastest car out there. You can still get beat by a Mustang or anything like that. Even a new 86, it's just a couple like 0.6 seconds faster than the Miata now. But that doesn't mean that you're still not gonna have fun with it. So let's get in the inside. Before we step inside, I just wanted to show you the key really quick for the Miata. This is the 22 model key. So the Miata has a new key. Before the 2016, when they first came out, they had the older version key where the buttons were all in the front of the Mazda logo. Now the Mazda logo is here. You have the nice new fancy looking key with the buttons all on the side right here. So same function. It's going to be lock, unlock. You're going to have your panic button in the bottom right here, and then you're going to just have your trunk release, which pops the trunk open right there. Let's go check out the trunk really quick before we step inside. To show you also before we get in the trunk, this is a really nice looking back end. As you can see, Mazda really hasn't made any big refreshes for the 22 model, and the Miata is already pretty old already. It's getting up there in the ages, but it still looks pretty new. So the taillights look exactly the same. In fact, the taillight actually looks kind of like the interior a little bit with the air freshener setup that they have. It's a very simple taillight. You're just gonna have your brake lights here, your turn signal and reverse light right there. So it's a very simple taillight, looks very nice. So let's open the trunk really quick so you guys can see what's in there. not a really big trunk. There's some stuff in here. There's the mats and stuff. So you can fit a few things in here, but it's not really going to be like the biggest trunk space in the world. It is okay in space. It's about 4.5 cubic feet of space in here. So you can fit a couple things in here. You can, if you're doing like small grocery shopping and stuff, you can fit those things inside the trunk of the car. The good thing about the RF though is that even with the RF top that's here, it does not affect the trunk space of the car. The only thing that it does affect is mainly just the weight, but Mazda still has the 50-50 weight distribution in this thing, and it only adds about like 150 pounds of the car. So the car still weighs less than 3,000 pounds, quite frankly, less than 2,500 pounds. So the car is still extremely light already. So yeah, the trunk is not that big, so the car is not fully practical. This is more so like a weekend car. But I mean, if you're, you know, living by yourself or whatever, and you don't really need to carry that many things, you don't even need a truck or anything like that, Miata, it's a good pick for you. All right, so sitting inside the Miata, I'm about 6 feet tall, so what most people think is that the Miata is too small of a car for maybe someone my size, but I actually fit in this car just perfectly. Now, to start up with the car, make sure it's in neutral, like always. I'm gonna just turn the AC down just a little bit so you guys can hear me out. So, as I'm sitting in this car, this is the GT model, by the way, so you have nice leather seats as well. So I'm gonna just kind of look over here so you guys can actually see me. All of the setup in here is literally the same. So nothing has really changed at all whatsoever. The screen is still the older version of the Mazda infotainment system. I've talked about it a little bit in the Mazda CX-50. It's an older system. It's still very easy to use, but it's not as clean and as fast as the newer version of the infotainment system. I'm not sure when Mazda's going to update this. I'm pretty sure the next Mazda Miata, the next generation Miata, is going to have the new updated screen. I don't think they're going to really update anything in this car because this car has not been updated for quite a long time. And it doesn't really need to be. It's a simple car that's made to be simple. So let's talk about everything else really quick. All your buttons are all right here. So your AC controls are all here. Temperature controls here. Your heated seats are in the bottom right here, as well as your control for the rooftop is going to be right here. You don't have a glove compartment, by the way. Your glove compartment is not here. It's actually right behind the camera, actually, where it has a little bit of storage as well. You also have a little center armrest that literally can fit maybe a couple pencils. So it's not really that much big in here, but it's not really meant to be either. Then you have your steering wheel right here. So the good thing about this updated one that Mazda has updated around halfway of 2018, they call it the 2018.5 model. So the Miata before, when the ND1 came out, it was only tilt. Now with the updated Miata, it's telescopic. So for taller people like me who have an issue getting inside one of these things, you don't really have much of an issue anymore, and I can actually sit a lot more comfortable in here now. You still have a regular traditional handbrake, so you don't have the electronic handbrake, or you don't have one in the foot and bottom right here. You have one right here that you can always grip. So if you ever want to just do a little bit of drifting and stuff, or just have a little fun, you know, going sideways in a Miata, you can. I'm not going to do it because it's not my car. I wish it was, but it wasn't. It's not at the moment. So yeah, so anyways, other than that, you have your side controls right here, where you have your lock, unlock, your window locks over here, as well as your adjustment for the mirrors here. You only have 2 windows, so you only have 2 window controls here, and then the passenger also has 1 window control, and as well as the lock and unlock function. That's really it about this thing. That's how simple this car is. It really has, it's not really much of a big car at all. It doesn't have that much of a description for itself whatsoever. The good thing about the RF is that you do have the electronic top operating system here. So it's a really good top. It actually opens within less than 30 seconds and it actually closes within less than 30 seconds. So you have that. If you want a soft top version, you can still go for the soft top version of the Miata. That can open literally within 1 second of you actually operating it. And it's just a simple latch here, and it's a simple latch right behind you as well. So it's a very simple function, but if you want a more luxury type of thing and you want to, you know, less wind noise, you can go for, I would recommend going for the hard top for that. Now, for the choices that you have in here when it comes to the inside, you just have mostly the array of colors in the outside that will orient to in here. As you can see, the door sill right here, it's white. So if you have like a blue or red Miata, this color panel right here will change to the matching color of that. If you want to go for just a basic model, you can go for the Sport. That will come with cloth seats, and it will just come with the same screen size, because now it's required to have a reverse camera in the States. But it's just gonna have less options. You're not gonna have navigation or anything like that. You'll still have Bluetooth, but it's just gonna be less functions. Like, you don't have satellite radio. This one comes with everything in it. So with the GT, comparing with the club model, because the club model can have the matching stuff with it, you know, you have speakers on the headrest as well. So that's one of the, you know, famous features that Mazda's always come with. Even with the RX-7 back then, they still had it. And the Miata was really well known for that. Still here to this day, so you can listen to music really good in this car. I'm not gonna lie to you. The GT also comes with a Bose sound system in here, as well as nice leather seats. These are very comfortable leather seats. For the club model, you're gonna have more so like an Alcantara type leather material in it, and you're gonna also have the option of Recaro seats, so that's really nice to have. That car, like I said, is more of a performance track oriented type of car. It's not a full track version of any type of Miata, but it's a more performance oriented version. So if you want to go back in the canyon roads and stuff, that's a car that you want to get, you want to have good brakes, you definitely need to get a club. This car, it's more so like a GT type of car. This is a car that you could just get out in the night, you could just take the top down, just feel the breeze and just blast music the entire time and just enjoy the drive. So, you know, that's what Mazda has always, that's what the Miata has always been about. It's just been a driver's car. This interior has a more driver's oriented type of feel to it. You know, all the controls are here. Your shifter is right here. And by the way, this shifter feels amazing, by the way. The clutch is so easy to use, and the shifter is just right on point with everything. There's no issues I have whatsoever. Even the reverse camera, it's still old. It's not as nice as the newer Mazda products that we have, but it's still a camera that works. So, I mean, you don't really need to have a fancy camera, especially for a Miata. This car is tiny as well, so you're not gonna really have any type of issues of parking or anything like that. So having a reverse camera is like a little extra luxury for this car that was made it to be mandatory. So it's nice to have that as well. Back in 2016, they didn't have a reverse camera. Your cup holder situation, you have a portable cup holder that you can either place behind the seats right here, so you can have two cup holders right here, or you can place it in between the passenger leg side right here, and it can just stay right there. Now, the big difference here is that if you place the cup holder here, you're gonna have less leg space in the passenger side. So if you have a passenger with you, they're gonna be a little bit more uncomfortable. But if you want to just remove it, you can just easily remove that, and you can just place a cup holder right here. So that was like the simple function that Mazda has had basically throughout since. So I'm just gonna place a cup holder here just because I kind of don't like the cup holders being there because of my arms, how long they are. So it's a very easy function to use relatively throughout. So that's how Mazda really organize themselves when it comes to the cup holders, because they wanted to keep this interior as simple as possible, and they honestly did a really good job. The quality in this interior feels great. There's not really that much of a cheap plastic type of stuff in here. Yes, there's some budgety stuff in here, like cheap plastic here, around here. There's some plastic materials here. There's some soft touch plastic around, but I mean, the car is not made to be a full ultra luxury car. You know, this car is less than $40,000, so you can't really expect to have super nice materials in here anyways. You have a nice simple engine too. You have a 2-liter 4-cylinder as well. You don't have a fancy little V8 or anything like that, or a fancy big V8 I should say. You know, so this is just made to be simple and fun to drive. I'm not even going fast at all, and I'm just already kind of just smiling and stuff. Yes, I don't have the top down at all whatsoever, so you guys can hear me a little bit better. I'm gonna enjoy the top of it a little bit later. But what is the Miata like to drive? Is it stiff? Is it horrible to drive? Is it fun to drive or anything like that? It's a Miata. And the reason why I always tell people that Miata is always the answer is just simply because the car is just so fun to drive. Yes, it's a little bit stiffer than, per se, maybe the CX-50 or anything like that, but that's an SUV. This is more of a sport car. Sports car, I should say, not sport car. This grammar sounds terrible. But this is more of a more fun-oriented vehicle. The suspension, it is stiffer. You're gonna bounce a lot more all over the place. But that's what the car was made for. It was made to actually turn pretty good in every single corner you go to. It was made to balance. I mean, this car has 50-50 weight distribution for a reason. It's because they wanted to make sure that this car has good balance to it. It does have a little bit of body roll around here and there and stuff, so you can have that raw feeling to it. The steering, it is electric power steering, so you're not gonna have like a good input between the feel of the wheels or anything like that. But you still actually have a good turn with the car the entire time. The steering is actually very sensitive as well. So the steering is super sensitive. So literally just with like a little light taps, it turns in very easily as well. Now the shifter, how does the shifter feel? How does the manual transmission feel in this thing? It feels phenomenal. I cannot really complain too much on how the shifter feels at all. I've driven quite a few manuals already, and one of the worst manuals I think I've driven, at least in my history of driving, if I can recall, I think it was a Fiat Abarth. That was one of my least favorite manual cars I've driven. This Miata is not even close to that. The clutch is so easy to engage, the shifter is so easy to use, and the throws are short as well, so you know exactly what gear you're in the entire time, and the clutch is so easy to just learn. This is one of the easiest clutches that I've learned how to use. And another car that I could think of that's the manual transmission is just so fun to use, and I just love shifting that car. It's like a Focus ST or something like that, and that's not even on sale anymore. So the Miata is still on sale to this day. I have yet driven the GR86 or the Subaru BRZ yet. I've driven the older version of it, the first generation of it. It's actually a review in my channel, so you guys can go check that out. I have yet reviewed one of these things, and I can tell you night and day, the Miata feels so much better. At least compared to the first generation FRS or the BRZ. I haven't driven the second gen yet, so it's not something that I'm too familiarized with, so I'm not going to compare anything with that car just yet. I'll compare it with the first generation because that was still on sale at the same point with the ND Miata. This is the ND2 has been refreshed and it's became much more of a better car. The car also, it does like to oversteer just a little bit. This car is a very playful car, so it's a very friendly car. It's a very forgiving car, so if you mess up your shifts or anything like that, it's not going to really bash you so hard on that whatsoever. So that is something that you can take on right away. But when it comes to turning in hard or anything like that, it's a very playful car, so it does like to oversteer, absolutely. And for the GT model, it does it even more. So the club model, it has more grippier tires and stuff, and also has an LSD as well, so the tires will actually spin equally. This car doesn't really have one at all. It's not made to do that. This car is, like I said, it's not made to be a more track or more playful version of the Miata. It's just more of a, you know, grand touring version right here. The oldest Miata I've driven so far was, if I can recall, it was an NC Miata. That's the generation before this one. I've driven a couple of ND2s. I've driven actually the ND2 before at a test drive and stuff. I've only driven it for like maybe 10 minutes and stuff. I love the car. I fell in love with the car immediately. It was great to drive and stuff. Funny enough, it was a GT as well, so I have yet gotten my hands into a club. I've driven my dad's club for a brief amount of time in a parking lot, so obviously I can't really say how that car felt to drive because I've only driven it in a parking lot. Now I have more of a brief amount of time with this one, and this car is just so easy to just drive. Like it's I thought this car would be a little bit complicated to drive and stuff, but it's really not. It's actually very easy to drive. Learning how to drive stick shift in this thing is probably one of the easiest I can ever say. This is definitely a car that's made for like the entry-level person who's just starting to learn how to drive or just wants to learn how to track. This car is perfect for that, for just that simple reason. It just has that perfect balance, and the engine is not even that powerful. Now, I will say this engine is very responsive for a 4-cylinder, but granted, this car is less than 3,000 pounds, so obviously with a car with almost 200 horses, about 20 horsepower less than 200, the car will wake up, and there's a reason why this car will actually go 0 to 60 in just less than 6 seconds already. So it's already peppy for its own name already, and it's kind of quicker than some of the other older cars already. This thing is probably just as quicker. It's actually faster than the Fiesta ST, believe it or not, and that ST has about 190 horsepower. This one, about the same matching horsepower, but it weighs a lot less, and it's a lot smaller and a lot more agile. So it's that much simple, and that's the simple formula that Mazda loves to keep with this Miata. So the purpose of the whole formula of this car is just simple fun. Front engine, rear-wheel drive, and 50-50 weight distribution with a great manual transmission, and you can just have a whole lot of fun in this thing. It's not going to beat any car in a drag race, but it's so fun that you don't really care just how slow a Miata is. I'm dying to drive an NA Miata just because I want to just experience just revving the hell out of that thing and just go under the speed limit. You know, I mean, this Miata, yes, you could possibly get a ticket if you really take this car to its limits now, because the Miata has gotten a little bit faster. I mean, I can kind of see why Mazda refuses to put a turbo in the Miatas. It's just because it will just be too fast. 0 to 60 in that thing will probably be in the low 4-second range. So I can see why Mazda just refuses for that, because they want to keep the formula simple. It's a car that's not made to be super fast. It's a car that's just made to be fun, that you can take on a canyon road without getting a speeding ticket. That's just literally it. This car literally just feels like you're driving a go-kart with this manual in it. That's it, you know? Compared to any other car that you can drive around, this car literally feels like a go-kart. It's so low to the ground. It is so agile in the turns, and it's stiff, don't get me wrong, but that's what the car is made to do. You know, on the highway, I'm pretty sure you're going to be bouncing all over the place. Unfortunately, I can't take this one on the highway. This is a dealership's car. But who cares? You can just have the top down and stuff, and literally that's it. I'm going to actually demonstrate how quick it is to take the top down really quick. So just to take the top down, you have to be at a complete stop, right? You just press this little switch right here, and the top will actually start operating itself. So it takes a few seconds and stuff, obviously. You have to be at a complete standstill. For the soft top, you could probably go like, 100 miles an hour on the highway and just put it down. Probably would destroy the entire top. The car will start beeping, and it will just tell me that the car is ready to be completed. And then after that, you just drive around after that. I'm gonna just take my hat off just real quick because I don't want my hat to fly off and I have to get it. But that's it. Now, the RF version, it kind of feels more so like a Targa top. This is not really a car that is like a full-on convertible like the regular soft top version of the Miata. This is kind of like a Porsche Targa top. If you ever seen like the Porsche 911 Targa tops, this is kind of what it feels like. You know, you just have the simple T-top version of it, and you still have the coupe-like and body style in the back. So it's pretty cool, and I honestly really like the way that this Miata looks compared to any of the other versions of the Miata. The NC had a hardtop version before, and that one, you could tell it looks like a pure hardtop. The RF looks like an actual coupe, even though it's still a convertible in the end of the day. Now, granted, if you want to just keep the Miata as simple as possible and not have any type of electrical arrays and stuff, you could go for the hardtop. But honestly, if you want a more comfortable ride, you want a quieter ride and stuff and not hear so much wind, the RF is definitely the way to go. And it's still a very simple operating system. So pretty much you can have this Miata for 10 years and there's not going to be any issues whatsoever. You have a simple direct injected motor that Mazda's had for years. My Mazda 3 had this exact engine, but it just didn't have 180 horsepower. It was tuned with about 150 horses, and that's it. It was in economy. It was tuned for economy. This engine, it is tuned for economy. The MPG, you still get over 30 miles a gallon in the highway in this thing. Even though you're going to rev around above 3,000 RPM going 70 miles an hour, it's still going to be good in gas, just for the simple reason that it's such a light car that you're not going to really have a problem just with fuel economy. I mean, if you have a car that's so terrible in fuel economy, there's your downside right there. I'm going to put the top back up because the sun's kind of beaming my eyes a little bit. But like I said, when it comes to the top up, you just stay at a standstill. I'm going to put the hazards on. The windows will lower down just slightly, and after that, top will start going back up. And now the sun is completely away from my eyes, and it beeps, and unfortunately you have to just manually put the windows back up with the switch. But I mean, not a big deal. It takes literally like 0.5 seconds. So anyways, drive it back again. Driving the Miata on a regular day-to-day basis, let's just drive like a normal pedestrian, I guess you could say. It's comfortable. I mean, as a practical car, if you're going to have a daily driver, the Miata is probably not going to be your first pick of having a practical car. If you're living by yourself and you're single and stuff, and maybe shorter than 6 feet, this car is perfect. I mean, if you're not going to need if you're not going to do any heavy loads or anything like that, or you don't do serious grocery shopping, the Miata is the perfect car for you, honestly. For me personally, I've been wanting a Miata for a long time, and I still really want one. I specifically want an ND2 Club. I've been dying to have one of those things. I just can't afford one yet because I don't want to finance one for 35 grand. But as a secondary car, this car is just perfect. It is such a perfect car to have as a secondary car. Why? Because it is a perfect getaway car to just have the top down, You could just enjoy the breeze as you're driving and just blasting music. Remember, I have speakers in the back of my headrest, so I can enjoy music pretty much the entire time, and I don't even have to hear the wind so much. I can still enjoy music the entire time that I'm driving this thing. So there's the benefit of that. There's the benefit of that already, and it's just, it works, you know. As a secondary car, it works perfectly. I mean, I will honestly recommend this car over a GR86 if you want a convertible top. For me personally, I want this more than a GR86 just because of how small and agile this thing is. But that's simply it. As a car that turns into a toy. Now, when it comes to toy, there's a few things that you may want to look for. Some people, they want to look for power. They want something that just has like 500 horsepower. This car doesn't provide 500 horsepower, and you honestly don't need 500 horsepower to have fun in this thing. If you live in California and you have those back roads on the back of your house, you will have the time of your life just enjoying this car. Blasting music, or even just hearing the engine out. And it does pull. It does pull quite a bit. This car, I was not expecting to pull so much. I was thinking that it was gonna maybe pull like maybe the CX-50 or something like that. The CX-50 doesn't have much of a pull at all. It has about 187 horsepower in that engine, but it's a 2.5 liter engine. This car has about 181. So the power ratio, it's almost there for a much smaller displacement of an engine. So, but just the way this car is fitted, the platform and everything, the balance, it pulls. It actually genuinely pulls a lot. So accelerating wise, you're not gonna really have much of a problem whatsoever with this car, in my opinion, to be honest with you. And driving it just on a regular basis, you know, in Florida, you're gonna honestly have to put a little bit more AC on. I have it on low just so you guys can hear me a little bit. But in terms of just driving on a day-to-day basis, it's fun. It's just genuinely fun. This car is you're never gonna have a day driving a Miata without having at least one smile on your face. I've probably smiled at least like twice or more than 3 times already driving this thing. It's just because I'm just enjoying my time right now. So yeah, this is more of a fun video, but still, you know, if you're looking for a car that has just the exact practicality you're just gonna need, just for the basic practicality, like if you're just doing basic grocery shopping and you don't need anything else, but you still want something fun to drive every single day, that's good in gas, by the way, as well, and it has nice amenities inside the interior of the car, then Miata might be the answer for you. I always tell people all the time, if you're looking for a secondary car, go for a Miata. If you're just wanting something fun to drive and stuff, and you want to just have the top down occasionally and stuff, guess what I'm gonna say? Miata is always the answer. You just want generally something fun that just you could just roll gears with, and you could just rev the heck out of the engine. Miata is always the answer for that. And now Mazda with the ND2, it's the perfect solution. Back then with the ND1, the only things I had to complain about was just the fact that the engine revved too low, in my opinion, for it to be fully fun. The ND2 revs at 7,500 RPM, so it's not much of an issue at all. You know, it doesn't rev like an S2000. The S2000 used to rev at like 8,500 RPM or like 9,000 RPM, but that was over $40,000. This car is less than $40,000. Even to this day, it's still less than $40,000. And if you want the sport, you don't really need any type of luxury features whatsoever. You can just go for just a sport and just call it a day, and you will spend less than $30,000 on that, and you will still have a happy revving engine that has no problem to just go. What I also like about this thing is Mazda updated as well in this thing. They didn't update too much, but what they also updated in the gauge cluster is that they updated the left side of the gauge cluster where it's fully digital. So you're gonna just have your digital gas gauge, your temperature gauge, but you're still gonna have your analog speedometer as well as the tachometer as well. So the tachometer actually tells you exactly what gear you're in and stuff. It will recommend what gear you should be in as well. Like right now it's telling me that it should go, I should shift to 4th, but I'm slowing down, so I'm just gonna shift to 2nd, and then you're just gonna go to 2nd, and then it's gonna recommend to go to 3rd. So it still tells you to shift up a little bit more occasionally, just so that it's just economic. So the Miata still has an economic focus on it, just so you can make sure that you are driving economically. But other than that, that's it. You know, if you want to just have fun, you can just go rev the hell out of it, and that's it. You just have your fun. So I personally love this car, like, to the bottom of my heart. It's just such a simple car that the Mazda has had a good history with, and it's genuinely been reliable as well. Long term, the Mazda Miata has been a very reliable car. That's how simple and that's how much this car has loved. It's sold over 1 million cars of these things already, so you could kind of see why there's such a following of the Miata already. And that's really it. You honestly, if you want to just drive one just to see how fun it is, go ahead and drive one. I highly recommend it. If you want to enjoy it, if you want to just enjoy a nice breeze and stuff, go and drive one. 100% recommend it. And another thing about this car, ooh, that was a stiff bump, it's tunable as well. There's been people already that has put a V8 in the ND version of the Miata. There's been people that put a turbo already in these things, and that's just because it's simply tunable. And even the old versions of the Miatas, you can simply just put a simple turbo in this thing and you can have even more fun with it. So on a scale of 1 to 10 of how I feel about this car, yes, I'm not going to give it a full 10 just because of practicality, but it's an 8. For fun, it's a 10 out of 10. For as a day-to-day car that you need to use as an everyday car, I give it an 8 out of 10. It's not a very practical car. I mean, if you need stuff more, then this is going to be more so of a secondary car for you rather than a primary car. But if you're already looking for just a secondary car and you just want a, toy, this is it for you. This is the perfect car for you, honestly. I mean, if you need more power, you could go for a Mustang, you could go for a Camaro, but if you don't really care about power, you just want something that's just fun to drive, then the Miata is the answer. I mean, that's not even full throttle. I'm not trying to full throttle it so much because I don't want to hurt this car, but it's such a fun car to drive. I want to take this car so bad in the canyons, and I want to own one day so bad. Oh my god, it's such a fun car. Unfortunately, with most of the things that are happening with the economy right now, with just cars becoming more hybrid, there's going to be more hybrid cars, there's going to be a lot more electric cars. You're not going to have something that you're just going to listen to like this. You're never going to be able to listen to that. They're going away, and Mazda has already had an idea already that they're probably going to hybridize the next generation Miata. So it's unfortunate because I really like just how good this car is. It's as a naturally aspirated car, and unfortunately it's gonna go away soon. V8s are already going away. Dodge has already announced that they're already going to make a full electric Charger. The Challenger has not been yet announced yet, but their V8s are going away. They've already discontinued the 6.4 Hemi. Chevy has already discontinued the Camaro, so the Camaro SS is no longer going to be with us. And right now, the only hope that we have right now at the moment is just the Mustang. The new generation Mustang has just recently came out, and that has a V8, and everyone's happy about that car having a V8. But that's literally the last car right now at the moment that has a V8, and Ford has already said straight up that the next generation Mustang, it's not going to have a V8 anymore. It's going to be electric. So it's just a last hurrah for the Mustang, and Mazda is going to go soon to the same route. They're already planning on bringing more electrification inside America already. The CX-50 is going to be one of the first vehicles to be an actual dedicated hybrid model, and they've already worked together with Toyota already, so they already have some hybrid models already in Europe. And a lot of people are fearing that the Miata is going to be electric. Thankfully, Mazda has said already that the Miata is not going to be electric, but it's no doubt that it's going to probably have some type of electrification no matter what, just because they have to follow the EPA regulations. So if you really want a toy that is just absolutely fun to drive, that is just so fun to drive, I mean, you're not going to get an experience like this with any other car today. The car that's closely related to this car is, just like I said, the GR86, the Subaru BRZ, the Nissan Z, the Supra. That's more of a BMW, I'm sorry to say it, but the Miata is literally one of the last few cars out there, and it still has a manual transmission. There's about less than 50 cars that are coming in manual transmission, brand new in America right now, probably less than 30 right now. And the Mazda Miata is still dedicated to having manual. There's still more manual transmission Miatas that are sold right now than an automatic one. So thankfully Mazda is dedicated to that. And any other Mazda that comes with a manual is literally a Mazda 3 hatchback. That's it. No SUVs come with manuals. Not even the Mazda 3 sedan comes in manual. And I remember when my Mazda 3 had the option of coming in a manual. Mine wasn't a manual, unfortunately. I wish, but they still had the option. So fun like this is getting so much more limited now, unfortunately. And it's sad, honestly. But like I was gonna say right now, because I don't want to make this video too sad, if you're looking for a fun car to drive, you're looking for something that has minor practicality, but it's just absolutely just stupendously fun to drive, even sounds good, honestly. Like, I love the way this engine sounds. There's an exhaust system that I would put in this thing that sounds so good. The Miata is the answer for you, honestly. I mean, if you want something a little bit bigger, you could go for the GR86. A lot of people like the GR86 a little bit more than the Miata because of just width to itself. I mean, yes, I'm a big guy. I wouldn't say I'm per se fat, but you know, I'm 6 feet tall and this car is pretty small. I mean, literally my arm can reach to the other side of the car. Right now I'm touching the other side of the door. So not any other car I could just do that with just my body structure being here. So it is tiny. It is an absolutely tiny car, but if that's what you're looking for legitimately a go-kart, get a Miata. Just get a Miata and you're not going to regret it. Maybe by the size and stuff like that, you may feel unsafe over the fact of an accident or whatever, but man, it's just the fun that you have with this thing is just forgivable. I mean, I really cannot complain about this car. Yes, as a day-to-day car, I wouldn't see myself driving one of these things, but as a secondary car, as a weekend getaway car, man, I would love to drive one of these things, and I really do want to buy one. I currently have an MX-6, so I'm enjoying that car right now. I just got it today. An MX-5 it's going to be next on my list very soon. So thank you guys for watching. By the way, I forgot to say this in the video, but check out Mazda of North Miami. They provided me this car once again. So highly recommend the dealership. They actually have one of these Miatas. It's just a GT, but if you're looking for like a Grand Touring one, they have this car right now that's still for sale at the moment. If you're looking for any other vehicles that are for sale at the moment, you could look for between the Mazda 3 as well as all the way to the Mazda CX-9. So they have an array amount of cars, and they have a lot of CX-5 as well. So if you're looking for a CX-5, they range from the base model to all the way to the fully loaded like carbon edition model. So you have an array of options. So highly recommend check out Mazda of North Miami. Thank you guys for watching the video. We're going to be shooting a next video next week. So happy to actually drive this car. So, and then after that, we're going to be driving some more family-oriented vehicles. This is more so just a fun video that I wanted to do. They had one here, and I'm very happy to record it. So thank you guys for watching the video. I will see you guys next time. Take care. Have a good one. Do you have any cup holders in here? Yes, you do. You have two that are interchangeable, I guess you can say. With the cup holder situation, you have a cup holder here on the side, or you have the option of actually removing that cup holder. We're gonna have to take that out.